Over under that Tyler Shough starts 10 games this season.
I'm taking the over. Let's both give our pick and then we'll talk about it.
All right, I'm also taking the over. And now you can go in there.
Yeah. So like my reason for going over on it is I think he outright wins the battle, but if he doesn't, he's eventually gonna. It might be, I think on a recent show you laid out the scenario where maybe Rattler takes the first four and then Shough takes over for him. I can see that happening. One way or another though, I think if you're cutting the season in half, I think he's starting more games than Rattler does, save for injury. I mean, obviously that could skew it a little bit, but I think he ends up being overtime.
Yeah, I mean, look, with that scenario of the 4 games, I can easily be wrong. Rattler can easily come up in training camp, blow the doors out the hinges, and say, "Yo, I'm the starter. Don't even question me anymore." But I do think, like right now, with them being kind of neck and neck, Tyler Shough takes a leap ahead coming out of training camp, and I think sticking with that situation, they'll stick with Rattler for those first couple of games, and if he wins them, perfect. Continue to roll with him. But if it starts becoming kind of a struggle, you see things not lining up how you want it to line up, then I think they'll put Shough in there, and that'll be 10 plus games after that. So yeah, I'll go with the over just because I don't think either of them will disappoint, but I just think Tyler kind of in his ascension so far has made him kind of on equal footing with Rattler. So we'll see, but easily can be wrong.
I think the thing in here that shouldn't get underrated is that I do think that there's a big portion of this season that's going to be about fact finding and exploration.
Yeah.
And if this is anywhere even close, like you are going to the guy that you put the 40th pick into. I think it's about everything. And I think that's the way you should look at it. I don't think you go into this trying to figure out how to be moderately competitive. Like Rattler would have to blow the doors down, I think, for Shough not to be the guy that starts 10 games. And this is about trying to find a long-term answer at that position. And either you got one with the 40th pick or you don't. And if you don't, you need to know that so that you can draft one next year. And I think that's what this season should be about. I think that's what every season should be about going forward. It shouldn't be about trying to find a way to be moderately competitive. It shouldn't be about trying to find the 26th best quarterback in the NFL. It should be about trying to find a top 10 guy. And do they have one on the roster right now? Probably not. But you have to try to find out. And if you don't, I think you have to be willing to go back into that draft and do it again. But this is about so much more 26, 27, 28 than it is 25. And I think that's where the effort's got to be. So I'm taking the over there because I think it would be dumb not to find out unless Rattler tells you that you don't need to look anywhere else. Like this is so sure over here. If it's anywhere close, if it's, I think Rattler has to be ahead by like 15, 20%. Just for you to not look at the other guy. Because, I mean, I think it's about so much more than right now.
Yeah, and like we talked about on the Wednesday show on the phases of the rebuild that the Saints have to go through, how they have to check off the quarterback box before they go into moving and developing into anything else. I think this is very important. And if Shough checks that box, then you're good. Now you can move on to look into defensive ends and defensive linemen and receivers and all those different kind of other pieces that are needed all over the team. But I think that box needs to be checked in. Look, if Spencer does say, hey, don't look at anybody else because I'm holding it down, and you got Shough still on the wings in case of it falls off the wheels fall off at some point, then hey, but I do think having that set and locked in is very important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you got to try to figure that out. Yeah. And that's everything. That's everything in the whole season. So yeah, definitely that.
Yep. Let's go into the next one. Alvin Kamara, 925 rushing yards.
I'm gonna go under on it.
Okay. Why? I got the under too, but I kind of really want to hear why you're going under on that.
So I'm going under 925 on Alvin. Last year he had 950. He ended up missing 3 games. Assuming health or whatever. Still, I think I want to go under here because I don't think he should be carrying the ball 230 times next season. I think that number needs to go down. I think you need to manage it. I would like to see him a little bit closer to like that 180, 185 range, somewhere in that. I just don't want to see him on that pace. And I think they're going to have one of these guys step up and be a slightly better option next year. So assuming all those things, I think this number can dip a little bit. I think they can maybe play a little bit differently. and I think they should play a little bit differently. And I think they just need to be mindful of where he's at in his career. I think last year's coaching staff was in a situation where they very much knew it was kind of do or die for all of them, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, all of that. So it's just we're doing everything right now. I think this coaching staff can kind of take a little bit more of a prolonged view on things, and having Alvin around through the duration of his contract, not running him into the dirt, I think is in the benefit of just everything they're trying to build.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the over on it, but I do very much agree with your reasoning. But kind of in the back end of that, I think if he goes over on it, that means the offensive line is set and figured out that they're able to have this amount of runway to be able to have him get over 925. But also, I'm not going over by much. I don't think he's gonna blow the 1,000-yard mark and then get past that finally in his career. I think maybe about that 950-ish range, maybe he can hit. But like you said, if some of these other guys can come in and get some run and take some of that pressure off, then that's also a positive. So him going over or under, I mean, it's positive both ways in a certain sense, depending on what lens you look at it through. But yeah, if you're running him into the dirt, that's also, of course, is a negative. But if he's able to get over that because the offensive line is playing so well, then I feel like that's good also.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's possible if he gets to 925 and he's averaging 4 yards a carry, that's 231 carries. I mean, that's just like it's just such a high volume for him. It's not impossible for him to get there. I mean, he's exceeded it twice in his career, and then at 223 and 22. Like they were kind of leaning into him incredibly heavy. Then I just want to see that weight off him a little bit. I mean, if you can get over that, if you're at like 4.5, something like that, that'd be great. That might mean your offensive line's killing it and you're getting them like a ton of yards before contact, which we've seen historically throughout his career. Like that's kind of been the thing that's dipped on him a little bit. So if you're getting up to 4.5, maybe you can get to 925 on 205 carries. So that's possibly doable. Yeah, I mean, look, if the O line's healthy, you can get to that, and maybe you aren't like at an egregious amount of carries. I just want that number to like settle at like 180 this year, 180 next year. Keep him like highly productive. Don't put too much weight on like that recovery aspect of
Yeah.
it. Be mindful of where he's at in his career. Keep his leadership in the locker room. Let him be the bridge over the next 2 years that kind of shows people how things are supposed to be done as you're getting to the other side. I think there's a lot of value in that. So I would look at it through that prism, but it's not 925 isn't a wild number. 4.5 yards per carry is extremely doable. He was at what last year? 4.2, and that's with all the offensive line injuries. So good scheme health is definitely an achievable number.
Let's stick with the running backs and go to the next one. Running back two, whoever that is, do the over under 450 yards.
I'll say over, I think.
I'll say over two because I think it needs to be over for a certain person who's in the running to become running back two. I think if Kendrick Miller can get over 450, then he's in a good spot long term in the future. But if he can't, and if he's still even struggling to get that running back two spot, then it's time to push the panic button on him and kind of reevaluate what his future is.
It's we probably both should have taken the under because like running back two last year, I think I had like 160 yards or something like that.
Yeah,
And
it's
if you
time.
take
It's time.
the reason there's two reasons I'm going over on it. I think Devin Neal is a legitimate player, and if Kendrick Miller isn't locking down running back two, I think Devin Neal gets in that mix. And two, I'm projecting less usage from Alvin, less usage from Taysom, and I think that just has to leave the number somewhere. Reason three, as well as I think they designed the run game last year, I think these guys are different. Like, and you got one of the high level architects from that incredibly good Philly running game, even before Saquon.
Yeah.
They were great at running the ball. In Paginetti, I think he's going to be a big difference maker for them. And obviously, Kellen Moore is a smart-minded designer of offense. Like, I just think that they're going to have to get to that. But it is a big number. And 450 is being incredibly optimistic about a position that has no reason for optimism right now. No tangible things that you can grab onto and say, this is it. But I just think I'm gonna say yeah, and I just think those things are gonna kind of come together to create that opportunity for somebody.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I'm going with yeah, because I definitely think that they have the skill to be able to do that. And you talk about last year, but last year's running back stable isn't what this year is. Last year's offensive line isn't what this year's is. So that's kind of why I'm giving it the bump up to the over, just because I think they're going to be better. They should be better. They got to be better in all of those different aspects. Let's go on to wide receiver. Chris Olave, over under 950 receiving yards.
I'm going under.
I've been toying with this one, and it's contingent on the amount of games played.
Let's say 17.
I'm going over.
I'm still under. And it's not because of Chris. I think it's just the offense isn't going to be that good. I think you got young quarterback. I don't know if the opportunities are going to be there across the board just to go over 950 yards. I mean, it's a in my mind, it's a dip even from the last couple of years. First year was 1042, second year was 1123. So I mean, look, he could get there with mediocre quarterback play, but I just think there's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, and I think we're going to get to another. Did we got that one in there? Still, we'll throw it in there. We'll do it anyhow.
Okay.
The over under on Tyler Shuck's passing yards. Yeah, I think that number is going to be a little bit lower. We'll hit that one next. But yeah, I think the number overall, the passing yards in this offense are going to be down, and I just don't think that the opportunity is going to be there.
I think it kind of has to be. You know what I mean? I think he has to be this high level receiver and jump into another tier, because it's about to be time to get paid. So I definitely think that, and whether that's the Saints paying him or not, but I think he has to be kind of above that mark. And I was contingent on the games played, because I think if he plays all the games this season, then he can reach that mark. But if he plays only like 14, 13 games, then I'll have to go with the under. But it definitely has a lot of asterisks on it on how he can get to that point. Because like we talked about in the Monday show, if the quarterback play isn't hitting, then kind of where is he at? Why is he wasting his time, in a certain sense of speaking? Why is he burning years just trying to wait for that to click, when time is literally money at that aspect?
Yeah, and look, he can want everything and he can desire it and he can want to take his game to the next level or whatever. But like, if the opportunities aren't there, they aren't there. So 3,200 yards on Shough. Let's say he starts every game, week 1 to week 17, 3,200 yards. You over or under?
I'm under.
Yeah, so like, where's it coming from? Like where is 1,000 yards for one guy coming from? I mean, that's a massive target share on that, and it's definitely doable. It's definitely possible, but you could not hit 950 yards, and it might not be reflective on the pass catchers at all. Like, he could catch Mike Thomas rates, 90-some%, and be doing all that. Yeah, you aren't getting the ball. Caleb Williams had 3,500 last year. He's the number 1 pick in the league. And granted, there were some like bumps and bruises there, but the perceived level of talent coming into it right off rip, like, it just isn't quite the same. So,
I don't want to walk it back. I don't, but I'm seeing it play out like that.
Jaden Daniels had 3,500 yards last year, man. 17 starts. Like, it's tough. It's tough to get over, So, if we're doing a conservative number of passing yards, and I think you can throw Rattler in there, Shough in there, whatever, the 3,200, I'm probably taking the under on both of them at 17 games. 35, I'm definitely under. 32 that's tough. But like, 35, even at 3,500, I find it hard to see a way that someone's getting 1,000 yards. I don't know.
Yeah, because even the distribution of it, because you have Shaheed, another flyer, you have Cooks, another flyer, and then getting Jawan in there, he has to get his just to justify that money.
Then there's Alvin.
Ooh,
like Terry McLaurin got
some plays. Yeah,
Terry McLaurin got 1096 last year. I mean, so it's tough. It's tough to get to a G. That's kind of the number. 950, 1,000 is kind of the number there when you're at that rate. So
yeah.
It's a tough bet. It's devious, man. And I don't think it would be reflective on Chris at all. I don't. Like, I just think the offense might.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Even when we were talking about with the extension, it's really not on him at a certain point, because somebody has to get him the ball. Somebody has to consistently get him the ball. And I think that's why I'm sticking with the over, but definitely can easily see it being the under and not have no shock or surprise about it.
Yeah, I think that number is like right around. Like, a push is like really. I'm not battling on the over. I'm not battling on the under. Like, I think that's just like kind of kind of about the ceiling, and a couple
Yeah,
things go right, you hit over, a couple things go wrong, you hit under. But I don't know that I see 11, 1,200 yards just because I don't think he's existing in an atmosphere where, that's
that's
possible.
possible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can own a Canadian Goose jacket, but if it's not getting down to 30, degrees, 25 degrees, like that thing's not coming out the closet. And it just kind of is what it is sometimes.
yeah. Perfect analogy right there. Let's go with the next one. Hopping on the offensive line, Trevor Penning, 9 starts at guard.
I'll be quick on this one. I over, and I feel like it'll kind of work out.
Okay, I'll go under, and I feel
That's
like,
crazy because like we've been on the opposite sides of this. I'm the Penning pessimist. You and Mike are like
and
have been
I've been,
optimistic about him.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm going under, and I think eh, because of the caveat of at guard, I think if somebody at tackle, which not hoping anybody gets hurt, but if that happens,
Okay.
then maybe he has to go over there, and then Radens can come in and fill in that guard, just
Okay.
because it's such a long season. So it's not like I'm going completely backtracking on having hope for him, but I think if somebody gets hurt on one of those sides, then he'll be the next coming up, and then Radens fills in that guard.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. But 9 starts, I mean, that means he's. You say you're going to be quick with it, but I'm gonna pull. I'm gonna try to get some more out. You think he's highly serviceable to where?
No, I don't think any of that. I just
Okay.
think, if you're asking me to make a bet today, I think they want it to work out. I think it'll be serviceable,
Mhm.
and he'll get 9 there. I just think that.
Okay.
But I'm not betting on it. I'm not confident about it.
Yeah.
I think that's the path that they want to have hit.